Kieran, I wanted to leave you some feedback on your rough draft for SE2. Um, I think that there are some good ideas in this draft. So I think that your points, your key ideas, your points of analysis are good. I like that you're talking about what reviews have said and how that um, is in conflict with what the viewers think. And I think that you have a good working thesis. I do think that the submission needs some revision, and so I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So it sounds like you are going to be analyzing the film based on performance, cinematography, conflict, plot, and title. Um, I would find this threw me off when I originally read it because you have such a short, terse list otherwise. So I would think about how you can rephrase this to tighten this up. Well, I think each of your sentences in the introductory paragraph are interesting. I feel like this needs more development. So why could the viewer not forget it, right? Um, because your description here, I think, is correct. But to me, this kind of seems like the typical plot in a romantic comedy. So to me, the description would indicate that it just seems pretty typical, not necessarily the idea that you're expressing here. So that's a point to be developed. You bring up the idea of mediocre reviews in the introduction, but that idea doesn't really get explored until later. So if you're going to bring it up in the introduction, I recommend expanding on that as well. So some expansion is needed here to make all these ideas independently work together. I think that you have some good background information, but I almost feel like there's too much, meaning that I got a little bit bogged down with all your informative details here, and things picked up against once you started talking about plot. So consider how you can condense some of this just straight up informative information to get forward to the plot, right? Your points of analysis, I think, are good, but I feel like you need more detail and you need to edit for repetition, right? So you bring up cinematography here and then cinematography again, but we don't really have enough detail to understand why the cinematography is so strong. So I would begin thinking about how each of your analytical key ideas should be their own paragraphs and explored in depth. Um, I like that you took the time to read the reviews on this, but I recommend referring to specific reviews. So say something like in Thomas Jones's review, Pretty Woman is boring. He claims blah blah blah. Does that make sense? That'll make this section stronger. So to me, I think thinking about organization, thinking about more detail, and then doing some sentence level editing for tone. So you want to avoid the use of second person you. It's too informal for a paper like this. Um, you could, since you're writing to a specific audience, think about how you could reference college age students, right? So why would a Cinderella story um, be so interesting to students? Another point to perhaps consider looking at that really this is a modern day retelling of of My Fair Lady, um, which is also a modern retelling of the play Pygmalion. So that's another point that you could potentially look into. Avoid where you can referring to um, announcement style language, right? So instead of referring to what you did to get to the analysis, I would just start with this point. And think about how you are repeating the same idea over and over and over again without pushing it forward. right? So here's another place to go through and edit for repetition. All three of these sentences essentially say the same thing, and so one will do the job. Finally, when you're formatting your movies, make sure you italicize the titles. So I think that this could be a good review. I do think it needs some revision, but with that revision, I think that you could get there. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.